Okay, so today we are making pheasant breast roulade stuffed with eggplant and boursin cheese, farro and asparagus risotto, an apple and yam puree, bib lettuce and beet salad, and our thigh and leg cake with an apple balsamic jus made from the braising liquid of the cake and bones. So here's our Scottish pheasant. She's beautiful. So I'm going to begin by taking the thighs off and the legs, and then we'll move on to the breast, like so. Coming super close to the breast plate, and we just slice that bad boy off. It's so thin. Look how thin it is. You know, I mean, it can't be more than 3/4 of an inch. So carcass, gonna make some stock and sauce. Skin. No mas. Time for braising. Okay, so leg braising. Just gonna salt them little leggies. They're so pretty. Oil in the pot. Just wee bit. We're gonna get decent color on both sides. It looks like we can flip these guys over. Now browning, because I'm going to pull these apart and make a cake, browning is not necessarily adding flavor to the meat as much as it's adding flavor to the overall stock and braising liquid. My onions and carrots, pre-diced by my sous chef myself. We're going to get a little bit of color on these because color, again, will add flavor to the overall stock, and we want flavor. If you don't want flavor, turn it off now because we're on the flavor train. I'm going to put grapes in now. I don't really want to brown them, okay, because I don't think I need to. And I'm going to put in my white wine now. And I don't think there's really anything to deglaze, but if there is, it's going to be gotten now. So the wine's going to add a little bit of acidity. I'm going to put my legs in. I'm going to put the roasted bones that I have roasting, if you guys want to see that. Roasty toasty bones. They smell a little offally, but you know, I guess because it's a wild bird, that's what happens. Let's just get all these juices in here because there's still a lot of meat on those bones. They let off some juice. Now I'm gonna put some water in. She'll roll until the legs are just tender. We're gonna make our boursin filling for the roulade. So we have our boursin hunk, panko, and I only have 2% milk. I wish I had heavy cream, but it is what it is. It'll be delicious, right? This boursin was gonna add the fat. The point of these panko breadcrumbs is to help soak up the fat from the boursin and not let it run all over the place. It'll help set it within the roulade. Taste. Taste your food, taste food, taste food. It's the only way you know it's gonna taste good. So I'm gonna just try and butterfly these. They're really thin, so I'll go light. I have my eggplant, which I sliced rather thinly and salted. Here we go. So I'm going to put a little bit here. Okay, I'm happy with that. Once it's rolled, it's going to be nice. I'm going to roll. And then we're going to wrap it. And we want to keep this as tight as possible. As for the breast, you saw me roll it. I just put it in a sous vide bath of 140 degrees for 1 hour, and that was it. I sliced it and took it out of the bag, and it was absolutely juicy and delicious. The leg cake, after braising the meat just till it was tender, I didn't want to fully overcook it because then it releases all of its juices and flavor into the braising liquid. I wanted to keep some of that flavor in the leg. Pulled it, I added some of the reduced braising liquid because it has that gelatin, and when it's reduced it gets really sticky and gelatinizes when it gets cold, so I added some of that liquid to the meat when I had it pressed so it would stick together. For the farro, I slow braised with onions, water, and salt just to keep a clean flavor profile. I didn't want it to interact too strongly with the other flavors on the dish. I left them chewy in texture, and I seasoned them with some of that olive oil that you saw, just to add a little bitterness somewhere in the dish. And I thought the farro was a good place to do it, because not only does the olive oil add fat, but that bitterness that I was looking for. As for the yam and apple, I braised the yam and apple together, very simple, and pureed it with some butter just to add some fat. It was nice and sweet. For the beet and bib salad, I roasted the beets in a semi-submerged liquid of apple juice, apple cider vinegar, and a good amount of salt. Beets really soak up a lot of flavor, especially when you're cooking them in a liquid, so they had a nice, it added to their sweetness and added some acidity from the cider vinegar. The bib, I really didn't do anything. I just tossed the beets and the bib with some of that olive oil and a little bit of Maldon salt just for some of that salty crunch. As for the jus, I strained out braising liquid. I reduced it all the way down, probably about 90%, maybe even a little more. I finished it with some of the apple balsamic and butter just to add some fat back in. And the apple balsamic really rounded out the flavor, because remember, that braising liquid had grapes in it. It had the onions and carrots, so it had savory and sweet elements, and the apple balsamic really brought all that together, especially with the butter. And it was really delicious, that jus. It was tacky and sweet and tangy. Lovely, chewy farro. Woohoo! Down. Now let's cut into this torchon. So this is our torchon. See, it's sous vide, so it's nice and moist with our stuffing. Okay, we're going to try it now. Roll up the sleevage. Let's try this breast first, because it looks pretty interesting. This was some of the risotto. Well, the Boursin cheese definitely comes forefront in flavor. Not a bad thing. The pheasant's really delicate, and it's kind of adding just an umami flavor, the pheasant. The farro kind of sits in the background a little bit with the bitterness of that olive oil. I used pretty heavy-duty olive oil, less fruity, more bitter, because I wanted some bitterness in this dish. There's a lot of sweetness. Let's try it with the puree. The puree is really good. It's not too intense. The apple's not too acidic because I didn't put too much apple. It's mainly yam. But again, it is a nice acidity balance from here to the Boursin. Let's try some of this here. Cakealoo. The leg and thigh definitely drier. Barely any fat in it. Maybe a little offally, like heart liverish kind of flavor to it. Definitely not in a bad way. I actually enjoy it, but the dryness gets to me because I don't like dry food. Now let's see how the earthiness of the salad goes. Goes really well with the farro. Yeah, a little bit of that jus. Overall, I'd say it's a really balanced dish, and that's what we're going here. That's what we're going for. Balance. When you're constructing a dish, you need to have balance between sweet, salty, fat, acidity, textures. We have textures all over. Soft textures, chewy textures, smooth textures, crunchier textures. And that's it. If you'd like to see more of this, please comment. Peace.